Hey, everybody. Welcome to a conversation on the podcast, a format that it seems that a lot of people are liking. And so we're going to continue to do it. I'm super excited about this interview because this is a great story about if you don't ask, you don't get. So I'm going to let this lovely lady introduce herself and tell you who she is. Then I'll tell you how she got here. And then we're going to shoot the shit.
What's up? I'm so excited to be back here. It's crazy. So I'm Heather Monahan. I was formerly a chief revenue officer in corporate America for 14 years. I got fired 2 years ago. And when that happened, I wrote and self-published my first book, Confidence Creator, which trumped for #1 in business biographies on Amazon. Have the screenshot to prove that one. And I've just been out now speaking. I just did my first TED Talk Saturday. Thank you. And I'm just tearing it up. So I was on your podcast a couple
months ago. You're welcome for that. A couple months ago, Heather. And then, thank you, bro. And then at the end or in it or towards the end, you're like, can I be on yours? And I said, yep, you can. And the reason, and one, I thought it was a great session on your podcast.
Everyone loved it.
Yeah, actually, let's jump into that. How was the feedback?
Amazing.
What was the thing that stood out?
People said it was a different version of you because we talked a lot about family. Remember we talked about your grandmother?
Yep.
Like we really got into some different topics, I think, that typically people don't explore with you, which was cool.
Cool. And so great energy. To your point, I did think it got into a lot of territories that were different. And I just, it's funny. And for everybody listening, you've seen Zane, who's sitting here, asks me at a Q&A, can I get a job? I say yes. He literally works here. You've seen other things, I say yes to, and then I say no all the time. Like thousands and thousands, not thousands, hundreds and hundreds of people have asked me in those kind of scenarios, can I be on the podcast or this or that? You can get a shout on your social and things of that nature. And I always feel super comfortable saying no or yes, but to the point, and something that I'd like to start talking about as a kickoff point before we go into a little more context on you and then anything else you want to talk about is how often do you ask for what you're looking for? How has that worked for you in your career? When did you develop it? Has it always been there? I think, I put out a piece of content recently where I told everybody to DM to text everybody in their address book if they knew anybody that could give them business, right? So if you sell it, everybody listening, if you missed it, if you sell t-shirts, if you have an agency, if you have, a product, a book, instead of texting everybody in your phone, and I'm talking like starting with Aaron Andelson and ending with Zach Zarlinton, if you text everybody, instead of saying, hey, can you buy my book? You could say, hey, I have a new book, Aaron. Do you know anybody who'd be interested in it? Which of course alludes to maybe them, or maybe they actually do recommend somebody on it. That really struck a chord, and I've gotten hundreds of emails in the last 3 weeks of people that did it and had miraculous results. Like literally, my landscaping business was about to go under. I was going to put everything on a credit card, but I saw that clip, texted 483 people, and have 13 new clients and don't need to take out credit cards. So much of why we're sitting here is you just had the audacity, the strategy, the balls, the thoughtfulness, whatever one wants to put in front of it, to actually ask, which is something people are super fearful of. How are you with that? Obviously, you did it with me. Has it always been there? Has it not been there? Tell me about you with the relationship of asking. So that is my opening question.
This is funny. So Zach that runs your speaker business.
Zach Nadler. Yes, I do.
Okay. So
VaynerSpeakers.com.
So I was on a conference call with Zach, and I don't know Zach.
Yep.
And I was going to be interviewing Jesse Itzler and Sarah Blakely a month ago in Boston. And so they had this call with me to basically strategize how it would go and whatnot. So I said, listen, Zach, I don't know you, but here's the thing. I want to come out to Biggie Small, Mo Money, Mo Problem. Me and Jesse will go riff this thing up and start rapping. He's like, excuse me. No, we do it traditional and blah, blah, blah. But if you don't think out of the box and then just bring it, whatever crazy heat you have, you're going to get nothing. I want it to be memorable. I want people to say, holy cow. So did I get what I want? No. He didn't let me do it, which is fine. But he will remember me forever because as soon as he saw me at Hypergrowth, he's like, oh my God, you're that crazy lady that wanted to come out with Jesse rapping.
Yes.
So even if you don't get what you're going for, you're going to be remembered forever.
Are you better at asking for things in business or in personal life or both? Yeah,
No,
me too.
I'm not good in
Me
personal
too.
life.
Me neither.
Good.
I have so much less fear of no in business than I did growing up with like girls. Like so much more. I used to like laugh,
Totally.
like thinking like, why am I 13 and willing to like do actual business with 43-year-olds, but I'm like scared to ask like Stacey Johnson to the dance.
So I'm the same thing.
And by the way, what's ironic about that is I actually have seen far more people the other way. I always used to think it was one and the same. And like, it was really funny to me to see like guys or gals that were good social life wise asking, crippled by cold calling or cold emailing or asking, which is why I asked you that. I've come to realize, wow, for some reason, there's some sort of difference in those two worlds. And I'm curious about who stinks at both, who's great at both, and then who's good at one or the other and which one.
I wish I was good in my personal life. No.
What was the most businessy thing you did when you grew up?
The most, being a kid?
Yeah. Were you in business at all?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had a paper. I grew up poor. My mom was a single
Where'd you grow
mother.
up?
Worcester, Mass. The
yes.
508. Remember, that's what Trouty and I had that in common.
I remember.
Yeah. So no, I had a paper route since I was 9. I worked at fast food restaurants. I was, a bus boy at like diners. I just always worked.
And so what about entrepreneurship versus job? Right? Obviously you were CRO. Now you've got fired. You're doing your own thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Was because, a lot of people that grow up with adversity, single mom, having to work, love the stability of a real serious job.
Yes.
You went that route.
I love that. I never thought about being an entrepreneur. That was a crazy idea.
Can you tell the kids that are listening that, neither one of us are under 25. So,
45.
right. So like how much we didn't grow up with entrepreneurship even being an option?
No, you're the poster boy for the entrepreneurial world, but that didn't exist when we were kids. Everyone was in corporate America. I didn't even know there was such a thing. Like that wasn't something somebody talked about.
Yeah, like the only way you heard it is like, oh, they own their own business. You would not even use the word entrepreneur.
No.
And as a matter of fact, the word entrepreneur, the few times I did hear it, usually meant rich kid who does nothing and parents are paying for it. Really. It's really interesting. Like that's how I recall it. Like 4 or 5 guys that I can think of growing up as 16, 22, 21, like they would have like a card that was like, I'm an entrepreneur. And I was like, what does that mean? And basically then somebody else, when they would leave, be like, oh, they just live on the beach.
PhD.
Their parents are
Do you remember that PhD Papa has dealership?
Yes.
Yeah. That was the entrepreneur back in the day.
What are you most thinking about these days? Like what is your business today?
Well, right now, my number one revenue stream is a speaking business, which is insane. I can't believe how much money I get paid. It's crazy. It's so exciting. I wish I had known about this.
How many times did you speak for free, if ever?
I just spoke for free at the freaking TED Talk.
No, that I know.
Other
I'm talking about prior to getting paid, or was your first...
My whole career. For 20 years in corporate America, I was a sales leader. Every day I spoke. You're speaking to your team.
But
clients,
how about after
whatever.
you got fired? Actually, tell that quick story before we run out of time.
Which one?
The framework of what I recall from our podcast and really where you go. You had this big gig. You got fired. You had to make an adjustment.
Yeah, no, that was the scariest thing because I wasn't comfortable with that unknown space like how you are. You've always been in this lane.
Yeah, that's my world.
For me, that was never my world. I like that safe. I was tricking myself. I thought it was really safe being in corporate America, which is bullshit because any company can be sold tomorrow and you only have your brand and your experiences and your network. So you are not safe unless you are actually doing it. I feel so much safer now that I work for myself.
Because you're in control.
I'm in control. I trust my boss. Like I'm not going to sell the company. I'm good, and just it's a seismic shift to think about how I.
What's the first thing you thought? So how did you get fired? In person?
Yeah, in a 2-minute meeting.
With HR?
Minutes. So with the new CEO. The CEO I had worked for 14 years became ill. He elevated his daughter to replace him. And she immediately said, come over. I need to have a meeting with you. And she basically passed 2 memos in front of me and said, I don't need a chief revenue officer anymore. I don't need you. Which memo would you like to sign? And one said, Heather Monahan's been fired. And the other one said, Heather Monahan, wonderful employee, blah, blah, blah. But I knew this wasn't my first rodeo. I knew there was...
Did you have any relationship with her?
Well,
prior?
She was the CFO and I was the CRO. So we were like, she wanted to cut everything and I wanted to spend everything.
I got it. Of course. That makes sense.
But I
did
never...
you know when she called you over, it was Kaputski's, or did you hope...
No, because she's a smart woman.
Yeah.
She was very analytical and she's a CFO. She's the antithesis of me, but I thought
it.
she knew I mean,
yin
Heather's
and the
good at her
yang.
job.
Got
I'm
it.
not going to fire her.
Right.
I figured she was going to rough me up a little,
or try to get
intimidate.
aligned.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think
So
that was
were you
gonna happen.
shocked?
Well, I cried the whole 3-hour ride home.
Do you have it in you in that scenario? Like, what's funny about me is every time anything happens, I start the process of worst case scenario. Dustin emails me and says, I need 3 minutes with you. This is real. It just happened. The first thing I think is, I hope he's not sick. Like, I go so funny.
My gosh.
I go into like, what's the worst that can happen? I hope he's not sick. I hope something weird didn't happen. Like, like John did something weird to him and it needs to go to HR. That's the next, to me, it's in this order. That person or their family is sick. Next, something like super politically incorrect, legal, sexual harassment. That's the next worst thing. Third is a good employee wants to leave. So if like a good employee says, I need to see you, that's the third thing I think. But like, that's all I think. I don't think like, oh, it's going to be a 5-minute check-in. This is, by the way, everyone who's listening, this is the shit of owning your shit. Like, this is actually the way you think. This is why it's interesting what you, it's crazy to me, but it makes so much sense, which is why I'm jumping on this point. I never really thought about this. The only thing I would have thought when she wanted to see me is I'm getting fired. But what I just realized based on your reaction, literally just hit me, is like, right, when you're completely accountable to yourself, which is what you're figuring out now, all the greatness of loving your boss and feeling safe, the shit part is the way my brain actually works. Listen to what I'm telling you. Every time anyone reaches out to me, in order, I think about terminal illness for them or their loved one, sexual harassment or stealing or something horrible. Third is they're leaving and we value them. That is literally the order that my head goes. Then it's like, hey Gary, can we get $500 for a TGIF Fridays party next Thursday for the team? I'm like, yes. That's why I'm always in a good mood when it's anything but 3. And the third one's not even that scary because genuinely on the record for anybody from Vayner that hears this, if one feels like they're ready to move on, I want to help them. It's the first two that scare the fuck out of me and always what I think. Every time a client reaches out, we're getting fired. Never we're getting more growth of business. Macro, I'm optimistic. Macro, I'm like, we're going to win. We're the best. Micro, I'm not.
That means something big. I don't know what it is. I'm not a psychologist, but it's got to mean something.
Let me tell you what it means in your world. When you're walking in there, micro, she's about to fucking fire me. Macro, I'm fucking a capable human being. I'm going to fucking figure it out. Whether I'm going to get another fucking job that's going to pay me more, or I'm going to start my own career and fucking speak at TEDx. Got it?
Yeah, I was the opposite of that.
I understand.
That's crazy.
Which is what I'm thinking of, why I'm saying this so aggressively is because there's 2 people listening right now in this show in the framework of business, entrepreneurs and employees. And it's like an interesting debate for people that are like, for example, there's a lot of people that are employees right now that are thinking about making the jump where they listen to what I just said and are saying, do I want to live a life where I have to always be that on and anxious at all times? Because yes, I'm a firefighter. Like, what's amazing about your life right now is you're in control. What's terrible is you're in control.
Right.
Like, if you decide to chill this morning, like, if Dustin isn't, I'm just looking at him. If Dustin's just like not feeling it today, and I'm like pumped all the time and have days when you wake up and you're just not fully feeling it, one could argue that you can call out sick. You can lollygag your day.
You can.
For me, that's I'm like, oh, the reason I haven't had a sick day in 9 years is that's more scary than the lollygag. Obviously, if I run 105 fever, I'm willing to stay home. But all those days, I mean, I called out of school 13 to 23 times a year. I made pretend I was sick 13 times a year. Once I figured out in high school that the nurse had to send you home if you weren't willing to go back to class legally, it was over. I just laid there until they sent me home. I'm like, I'm nauseous. I'm unconscious. I feel weird. I'm anxious. Like, get me out of here. And then the best part was I'd go outside. My mom would have to pick me up freshman and sophomore year and junior year before I got my car. And literally I would never look at her because like the second I would look at her eyes, I would just start laughing because we both knew the gig.
The gig was up.
Anyway, not to tally. What happens? You cry all the way home and then what?
I went under a weighted blanket, grabbed a bottle of Chardonnay, and then I did something.
How was the Chardonnay?
Oh, it wasn't empathy. It needed to be
know
empathy.
That. We don't
now
have,
it's empathy.
No, but how was it?
Oh, it was good.
Good, okay.
But, all right, so here's the thing, though. I did something super smart, and I had never done it. I posted on social media that I just got fired. I just was vulnerable, and I just said, I need your help.
You needed something.
I needed help. I didn't know what to do, and it was crazy. Froggy from the Elvis Duran show tweeted at me. I want to help you. Is there any way I can help you? And I tweeted back, yeah, book me on Elvis. He booked me right away to go on the Elvis show. I went on the show, and halfway through the interview, Elvis says, well, obviously you're writing a book. And I said, well, obviously, but I wasn't. So I Googled on the plane on the way home, how do you write a book? And it says just write. So I was like, I can do that. So I just went home and I just started writing. And then, it took like 2 months and I was done with my book.
Did you debate self-publishing, because I heard you earlier say that, versus getting a book deal? Was the book deal too long and drawn out and you wanted to get it out?
Speed to market. Yeah. So, obviously with my history in business, I knew speed to market is critical.
Yep.
And I've got to move fast, and I'm going to move so much faster than some traditional publishing house. So I'm glad that I self-published.
Did you consider getting a job?
Like going back?
To a job, yes.
So I had to sign a non-compete when I took the chief revenue officer position. So for 1 year, I couldn't go back to media.
Yep.
So I thought to myself, if I'm going to start over as a rookie somewhere, why wouldn't I roll the dice on me versus, if I'm going to go do something new?
So what happened next? You write the book.
So I write the book, and then I Google, how do you promote a book? And you speak to promote a book. So I was like, oh, that's easy. I already know how to speak. I didn't know there was a speaking business. I had no idea.
Me neither before I got into it.
It's so crazy to me. I always think, how many other things do we not know about that we could be
an
great
uncomfortable amount.
So that's what's so exciting
that's my entire thesis. When there was some gal in line in this speech I gave, and she's like, Gary, I know your thesis of taste things in your 20s and figure out what you love or what you're great at or what to your point. And she's like, but I've done all that. Like, what do I do? And I looked at her. She was from Belarus too. So I was like, kind of like from the homeland. And I'm like, let me get this straight. You've decided that you've done everything on earth and you now know it was funny to watch her like realize, oh, I've only done 9 things and there's 9 billion things. There's so many things.
Well, it's like I was just mentioning to you, Marcia Kilgore, how she's disrupted the beauty business. Look at that. This is someone who has been in the beauty business for a couple of decades and one day just said, hey, I'm going to flip this whole model upside down. Now it just challenges me to think, how can I flip everything upside down?
Everything's in play because of the internet. Bookstores and limos are just the first ones. Everything. Every single thing is vulnerable.
Everything.
What do you want to... Everybody who's listening, like, you like eyelash extensions? Vulnerable. You like ice cream? Vulnerable. You like kindergarten? Vulnerable. Literally, this is why people, sometimes struggle to understand what I'm saying. All of it. The answer is yes. There's nothing that is protected. Amazon's vulnerable. I'm telling you right now, let me explain what I mean by that. If you asked me, give me a top 10 great idea to start a business right now, one of them is to start a local bookstore.
That's shocking.
That's why I'm making a point of it. I believe that we are at enough scale of books being delivered by Amazon that the counter move is now up for debate. That if you build a trendy, coffee, WeWorky, co-working, kind of vibey, dry bar, Sephora, rad fucking bookstore, that people will go. That if you make it experiential and have another variable, that people will pay the extra dollars that are more than Amazon to be there. I
don't know. I had the TED Talk. I ordered like 7 dresses online because when you're a woman, you have to really think about what you're going to wear for something
what about
like
men?
This. It's not as big a deal for a man. It's
not.
You're not going to be scrutinized the way that I would be.
I think it's time that we start having counter debates of where some men are like wildly focused on what they're wearing.
They're not going to be scrutinized though. It's irrelevant.
Scrutinized.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to talk about what I wore. Like, it's too sexy or it's not. She's not feminine or whatever.
But why does that matter?
I don't know. It matters in a woman's head. These are the things women think about.
Men think about how much money they make, how tall they are. Men think about a lot of things too. I'm not making a men-women thing. I'm making it how do you eliminate that? Because then you go fast.
I'll move out of Miami. That's what I should do to eliminate that.
Or just not value people's opinions, pro or con.
You're right. You are right.
I want that for you. Because I want that for everybody. I want it for everybody. I want it for everybody. I went to the Knicks game last night and had 400,000. My friend said to me, holy fuck, you're more popular than every Knick. And when I tell you that I can't even feel it, I can't. Which is why I can handle the next morning when somebody wrote a blog post to say that I'm trying to exploit the sports card industry because Topps paid me $25,000 to curate a set. Like, you need to be able to, I really want this for you. And I have a lot of empathy when you talk about women's appearance, like the enormity of DMs that I get from women that say, look, easy for you. Like, I spend 40 years before I go on film. And I'm like, look, there's so many, like, I understand that. Historical truths, men and women are different. There's a million things that go into that, but there are so many men that are shy to go on camera because of their looks, and there are so many women that are not, and vice versa.
Sure.
And I'm just trying to get everybody into a mindset of happiness, which is actually truth of elimination of judgment. But nonetheless, you might also enjoy it. Like, it just might be fun for you to subconsciously to go through 7 dresses.
No.
Maybe not.
Absolutely not.
Maybe not.
No, that's
I understand.
Pure hell.
Understood.
But the whole point, this is not why I was telling you
what
this.
were you telling me?
Okay, so the whole point is this. So I had to order all these dresses because I wanted to get the right outfit and drive myself crazy. But then I gotten these dresses from Saks, and I usually order from Revolve, which is a customer-centric business, right? So it's easy to do business with them, return stuff.
Also great pricing, right?
Great pricing, great products. This is hashtag not an ad. Well, all of a sudden I look at Saks, you have to pay if you want to return it via UPS or whatever. So I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'll bring it into the store because, that's just principle. It's wrong. So I bring it into the store. I hadn't been in the store in a long time. The guy literally is like, listen, here's my card. The guy that works at the desk, there's no one in the store. And he said, here's my card. Next time you order online, if you can just include this code, now I'll get a commission. And I thought to myself, this model is so freaking broken that this poor sales guy is like begging for someone to, use their code so that they can make $1 off of something that they used to have people come in the store and, that model is just broken.
Yeah, I mean, that sucked. That whole experience that you just, like,
horrible.
I would never go to Saks again if somebody asked me that.
Horrible experience.
And now I'm not mad at Saks. I'm just mad at the whole thing.
I feel bad for the guy. Well, obviously it's not, they're not training their people. There's so many issues there. The customer's not the focus. It's all broken.
Yeah. Before we head out, because we don't have that much time, what's on your mind? What do you want to share with the audience? What are you talking about these days?
Oh my gosh, stepping into fear, because I was paralyzed by fear for so long. I knew that lady didn't like me when I was working there, but I would just ignore it all the time. And that chipped away at me, my confidence. It chipped away at my potential. And when you erode yourself in a situation, at some point you have to look in the mirror and say, like, enough is enough.
Yeah.
I've got to just go out there and take a chance on me. And I wasn't able to do that. I got pushed out. But I'm so glad now that I did. And this TED Talk that I did, it's so ridiculous standing on a little red circle and having a ticker going off for 10 minutes. It was one of the most stressful things I've done. But once you're done with it, it's like, I said to myself right when I was walking out there, maybe I'm going to bomb right now. I don't know, because this is not like anything I've ever done. But I'm going to love me so much more, like when I get off the stage, because I walked out there.
Sure. And so what, since the fear professionally, have you stepped into?
Oh my gosh, everything. I left my fiance that I've been in a relationship with for 8 years.
That's a massive
That
move.
was like massive. Yeah, it's like a domino effect for sure of, different things that have occurred. And I keep like pushing myself to try different things and like go to that.
Talk to me about so speaking is a core thing for you.
Yeah, that's my number one thing.
So let's talk about personal brand building, which would lead to more speaking gigs.
Yeah.
What are you doing content-wise? How are you thinking about that?
I'm not doing a good job of that. I need a D-Rock in my life. That's definitely the next investment that I have to make.
The D-Rock part is not the punchline. It's the strategy that makes you comfortable with it.
Yeah, but
you can have a D-Rock.
You can have a great strategy, but if you don't have the team to execute it.
You could have a team.
Well, it's where do you want to make your investment? That's what you have.
That I respect.
You need.
So you're saying it's a financial
100%, because that's the difference.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you believe if you tweeted, much like you tweeted, I got fired, that I'm looking for an intern for a very low cost, but you'll get the skill set to do the D-Rock thing, and can you afford it, whether you're A, super hungry and you think it's strategically right because you get close to me, or B, you just come from highly wealthy parents who are going to subsidize your life during this time and you want the experience. Do you feel like you could get that person?
You're right. That's a good point.
Okay, so that's that. Let's put that on the shelf. What else are you doing on content? Where are you on LinkedIn?
Oh, I kill on LinkedIn.
Tell me.
Well,
how often do you post? What do you post? How are you thinking about it?
You know what? I don't strategize.
And tell me the truth, because I really want to help you in these like final minutes.
That's so. Thank you.
How often do you post on LinkedIn?
Once a day.
Once a day.
Yeah.
Written?
Well, I do videos, but then my viral posts, like I've had millions of views on my posts. It's always 9 professional pictures of that's the recipe for whatever reason, and sharing something vulnerable. Those ones go viral for me.
Have you tried to use LinkedIn like Twitter? I've been thinking about this a lot.
No.
I've been thinking about the notion of LinkedIn's algorithm is highly organic right now. And 1 or 2 sentences of thoughtful business chatter, 3 or 4 sentences on the fly. Like you're going down the elevator now after this podcast and we talked about something that you thought about and be like, literally, here's literally the LinkedIn post. Just did a podcast, made me really think about, the things I continue to say no to that are actually yeses. I just need to look at them from a different angle. Mm-hmm. Is what I always challenge myself for, because I think what I'm good at in giving advice for.
Right.
That is a LinkedIn post would take you 39 seconds. I think you should be posting based on what you're trying to achieve in your career 8 to 15 times a day on LinkedIn.
Get out of here.
Yep.
And that's not going to be overkill, you don't think? It's not spamming people?
No, because people aren't going to see it all.
Right.
What people don't understand is the algorithm. The thing that people haven't figured out is the algorithm is on the side of the person that's consuming it, not on the side of the person that's making it.
Interesting. That's a good point.
And so the algorithm is going to, you know who it's going to overkill? The 49 people on earth that think you're the greatest thing of all time, and they're going to see all 15.
And they'll be fine with it. That's fine.
They're going to be pumped.
Right.
I'd like to get 49 pieces of content from Randy and the Macho Man Savage in 1988 every day of my life. So no, that's why the algorithms work. People blame the algorithms, like, fuck you, algorithm. I'm like, the algorithm's there for the people. It's consumer centric. The reason algorithms work is because they're consumer centric. If you think I'm rad, you're going to see me because you're going to slow down when you're consuming it. You're going to consume, you're going to like, you're going to comment. And that's an indicator that you're going to see it.
Do you respond to haters when they post on your... You do?
Not always. I mean, right now, the sheer volume between text messages, social, email that I'm getting is unsustainable, even if I did it for 18 hours a day. But I'm very... I had 30-minute coffee this morning with a gentleman who... I wouldn't call him a hater, but was aggressively pushing back against me on social. And we had a lovely conversation about like marketing and how we see it differently. I get a lot of value. I mean, look, there's people that are making up stuff. The kid that wrote the article today about me in the sports card world made up stuff because I posted a photo of a box of cards yesterday, which I did for my friend that runs StockX, Josh, as a friendly gesture. He's turned it into this highly like hidden compensate. I mean, people are delusional.
Right.
So that I don't get a lot of value out of. Lying or mean hate. If somebody, haters that pick on women and use sexual, you're not gonna, there's no engagement there. People that are like, Gary, you're a charlatan, like you're full of shit. What have you ever done? I'm comfortable jumping in and be like, hey, I understand you may not like the Instagram videos or I might come across too aggressive, but like, on that point of what have I ever done, I do think there should be a discussion of like, I've built 2 massive businesses. And to that point, that might be a framework to a conversation. If the reply to you is like, fuck you, bitch, then I'm like, okay, this needs to move on. If they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense, I didn't realize that, then I'll come back and be like, hey, what about you? Like, what do you do? Like, I'm very capable of dealing with negativity because I come at it from compassion and empathy. They don't know me.
Right.
Everybody in this room doesn't know me, and I know these 3 hang out with me a lot and have a lot of access to me. They don't fully know me. Who knows you? So when people are casting judgment, like, this is why I don't take compliments high either.
That's hard. That is really, you have to train yourself to do that.
Well, this is why, I look at like, there's a couple things that people really struggle with. If you're attractive as a guy or gal, inevitably you're in trouble because you grew up in a life where people told you were attractive and you took that in. If you had high success in school, if you had high success in sport, by not being an attractive scholar or athlete, I had none of those over things. And so what actually gave me reinforcement was the end market. Nobody complimented me except the results of my little businesses. So I became market driven, not people's opinions driven. My friends got it? Yeah. That's what I've self-analyzed. So that's what I'm looking for everybody else to do. Forget about individual opinions. What's the score say? Do people, I always tell people, do the people that know you best like you? See, my thing is there's so many people out there that are admired, but if you look carefully, their inner circle's garbage.
That's sad.
Well, that's a lot of people that people think are awesome. Like a lot of people that get exposed later in the news, like bad shit, Me Too, fraud, go to jail. If you look carefully, you can be like, why don't they have an inner circle? Why aren't there people there for a long time?
That's creepy.
Like, I'm like, why do I have people around me forever? Like it's not super complicated. Like people get confused and then the reverse. So to me, I'd rather the people that know me the best admire me the most And the people that don't know me at all and are insecure and upset with themselves hate me the most.
Absolutely.
That's the game.
Done.
Fear is a real, you need to challenge yourself, in my opinion, to play that exact, you are not naturally that person. Just like I'm not naturally work out well. Like, it's really fun to think I don't do radical candor well because I hate micro negativity, which has led to all my vulnerabilities. That's what I'm working on. You need to fucking go all in on everything that is judgment.
I love that.
That's the game for you.
All right, I'm in.
Final point. What you get the floor for the last 30, 60 seconds.
Fear is a liar, and confidence is the one thing that can change everything for anyone. And it's a choice. It's not something you're born with. It is a practice. Right. It's a discipline and it's a decision every day when you wake up, but it's the game changer.
I'm going to add, and I apologize, I said you get the last word, but I'm a fucking maniac. I'm completely flawed. It just made me think of something. Judge the judger. A couple of new big executives have come to Vayner and they're like, wow, this place is fucking amazing. And I'm like, why? And both said the same thing. They said after 6 months, they're like, you don't just blindly take content and context from people. You actually 360 it. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, a couple of weeks ago, I told you Sally Magoo sucked. And you came back a week later and said, you have a wrong perspective because you only took it from one person's point of view. And you were right after I did the homework. Judge the judger, my friends. If somebody says you're ugly, you have to decide who that person is, including your mom, including your dad.
Most importantly, those people, because those people are coming from their own challenging places.
Judge the judger.
You're so right.
People get feedback and they're like, I'm stupid. I'm like, because Ricky Magoo said you're stupid? Judge the judger. That's the easiest way to get into a fear-based. Here's my framework. I don't let anybody else's opinion override my own. Judge the judger. And when I lose, because there is no judger, it's just the market. Mm-hmm. My book didn't sell. My sports car didn't sell. My business did bad. We got fired. I accept it. I own it. When the market says you lost, you have to own it. It's like sports. Mm-hmm. Either you lost or you won. And when you lose, you have to accept it. But anything that's a subjective judgment, judge the judger. That's how you get a relationship with fear.
So good.
Awesome. Thanks for being on.
Thanks. You.
Bye-bye. Awesome. That was really cool. I think people are really going to enjoy that.
Thank you.